Hello, welcome to a live stream. I know it's sort of midday, everyone's sort of at work. Everyone's sort of, if you can't watch, then you can't watch. If people can watch afterwards and stuff, but you've got to react to the news when the news comes out. It's 11:30 when the news comes out of the retain and release from Fulham, which I'm not gonna lie, for the last couple of days I was sort of waiting. I was sort of waiting because I knew that this time of year everyone's releasing them. Everyone's releasing retained released, and I was like, where's Fulham's? We sort of knew that from what Silver had said in the last couple of weeks that Vinicius and Willian would leave the club, and it's good to get confirmed. It's good that the retained release come out, and we haven't seen. And this is now TC's leaving the club. This is now Kenny Tete leaving the club. Very much a case of they've been offered new contracts, and then we can start hoping that they're going to sign those new contracts and they can be with us for next season. Obviously, for Kenny Tete, it's very, very important that we keep his services as a right back. And I forgot to get comments up. Oh, Toby, thank you so much for subscribing. I just saw you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Thanks very much for subscribing on Patreon as well, Toby. Thank you very much. Hope all is well with everyone. I'm getting bad internet signs again. I should have reset the router, but there's a lot of people in the house right now using various internets on different calls. If it's unbearable, I'm located in a pretty decent place in the house. If it's unbearable, please do let me know, and I will just go live on Twitter because I can just use my phone, which is much easier. But yeah, welcome along. I don't know if necessarily we'll be here for long, probably for the next 25-30 minutes, just talking about the retained and the release. Let's have a look and let's go through it now and read the statement as is when the club announced it. Let's have a look. Let's get it up here. Yeah, I need to sort this internet out for this summer if I'm going to be streaming a lot. Okay, let's go through it now. The club can confirm that Willian and Carlos Vinicius will depart Fulham upon the expiry of their respective contracts at the end of this month. Tom Kenny and Kenny Tete have been offered new contracts, as have Luke de Fugros, Callum Osmond, and Mark Gordon. Now, Callum Osmond, obviously, if he looks as if he's out of contract, so if he is out of contract, then the club obviously want to keep his services. We don't want to lose a player like Osmond on a free. A player who's got so much potential, so much quality, and a player that I personally think has a future at the club, has a pathway. If you think about it on paper now, going into pre-season, our three strikers right now are Muniz, Raul Jimenez, and Callum Osmond. And I think that would be a huge shame if we were to let him go. I would imagine there is interest from other clubs. I would imagine that there's a whole host of clubs who'd like to take him for their academy. I'd imagine there'd be a whole host of teams who would like to take him on loan, and he can play in the Football League or wherever in Europe or in the world next season. Do I think he's going to break into the first team next season? Probably not, because of what's already been sort of seen in terms of, I think that the plan is for next season is to have Mez, Raul Jimenez, and a third striker to compete with those two. I think that this is the time where Osman has had 1.5-2 very, very good seasons in the academy. Sign a contract at the club. You've got a pathway into the first team for sure. Maybe not this season, but the season afterwards. Go out on loan, show the EFL, which he would be superb in the EFL. Show the EFL what you're made of, very much like Jay Stansfield when he went to Birmingham. And I think if he went to League Two, if he went to League One, he would score 15 plus goals in the league. He's such a live wire. He causes defenses so many issues. So I think that would definitely be an option for him. And I would like to say, and I'd like to see him play in the EFL. Obviously, I'd like to see him, first of all, sign a new contract at the club. And of course, Luke de Fugros as well, a player who, Luke de Fugros is a player who basically has played in the first team, got a huge injury last season, was out for most of the season last season through injury. And obviously we've seen him come through in those Carabao Cup games against Ipswich Town. I seem to remember him starting. And obviously that injury has stifled his potential, stifled his progression. But I think obviously he's on the radar of Canada in terms of the national team. And it's very rare that you see a centre back come through at Fulham, and I think Drafugrols has got a real good opportunity to make his way into the first team. I think the last centre back I remember Fulham having was Stephen Arthurworry, coming from the academy into the first team. Got a couple of games again in the Carabao Cup, but would like to see Luke Drafugrols sign the contract. He's obviously very, very highly thought by Hayden Mullins and everyone at the club. And obviously we're seeing reports about Jorge Cuenca. We could talk about that a little bit. Jorge Cuenca apparently wanting to leave the club, and I can understand it. It's been a difficult year for him, hardly any minutes, and settling into a new country. Obviously competing with Calvin Bassey, it's going to be incredibly difficult for him to break into the first team, or at least break into the starting 11. But yeah, it's been a difficult season for him. So let's talk about what it means. Willian and Vinicius depart, and to be fair, Willian gave us 3 very, very good seasons of service. First season, absolutely extraordinary. His sort of revival after his terrible spell at Arsenal, where he got tons of abuse from Arsenal fans, of course. Arsenal fans are absolutely pathetic when it comes to abusing players. Then he goes back to Brazil, wasn't really enjoying it, came back to Fulham and to London, and just completely was revitalised. Fantastic spell. Some really good goals he scored as well, against Forest, against Chelsea, against Leeds, I seem to remember. Scored against Leicester a couple of times in a 5-3 win. Second season, I think it was very important during that summer a couple of years ago, where he was rumoured to go to Forest, and we weren't sure if he was going to sign a new contract. He eventually did, and I thought in that season, we got to the Carabao final. He scored in that against Liverpool. I thought he was really, really good. But I think that bringing him back in January of this season, I think was probably due to the fact that we were missing Harry Wilson and Nelson due to injury, and he came in and did okay. He did all right. I think it was very much a case of just a helping hand, an extra body to have in the squad, an extra bit of experience to have. And I think from basically the last 4 or 5 games, I sort of was like, I think this is probably going to be the end of the Willian story at Fulham. Whether he goes on and has one more season in MLS or go back to Brazil or even the Premier League, you never know. But I do think that with the average age of the squad, it needs to come down. And I think getting rid of Willian, or let's just say releasing Willian, is going to help with the average age of the squad coming down. In terms of Carlos Vinicius, it never really worked, did it? It never really worked for Carlos Vinicius at Fulham. He scored some important goals against Chelsea, and that will go down in, like the club have tweeted, that will go down in folklore. But obviously he was competing with Mitrovic first season, and then of course Rodrigo Muniz came in and did so well last season, and then this season it's been very much a case of choice, and he's got, I want to say, a few appearances from the bench at the end of the season. So yeah, these aren't huge surprises. I think that they were necessary to get off the books, and in terms of now we need to fill those gaps. A new winger to come in, hopefully. I think we need definitely one on the right-hand side, definitely one on the left-hand side to compete with Alex Iwobi, one on the right to compete with Dar and Wilson. We were talking a lot about goal-scoring wingers on Jack and Joe's show last week. And you look at basically every team that finished above us this season, from 10th all the way up to 1st. They've got goal-scoring wingers within their squad. Albeit, Iwobi did chip in with 9 goals and 6 assists this season, but very much tailed off towards the end of the campaign. And I'm very, very wary that the window is basically open. We have a period of time between the 1st of June and the 10th of June, where the window is open. We've seen Brentford make signings. They've signed Kelleher. We've seen Manchester United make signings, of course, with Cunha, and they want to bring in Brian Mbeumo. And Fulham, as always, just a little bit slow out blocks. There are a few links. Someone's just asked what's happened with Joe Willock. I don't know. Someone tweeted it. Had any traction since then, and I haven't seen anything. I haven't seen anything since with Joe Willock. So one to watch. I'm not sure. There's been links with Ricardo Pepi, of course, from Mike McGrath on Friday. An interesting one. Someone who's currently injured, hasn't played for a few months due to a knee injury, and that's obviously a striker link. I'm trying to think. Has there been any more little links? I don't think there has been. There's not been much that's happened. Obviously, we saw Harry Willian yesterday saying that they're in discussions to tie him down to a long-term contract, which is great. Obviously, he triggered the option, or the club triggered his option, as we did with Adama Traore and Raul Jimenez. But it's going to be. I hope it's not a slow summer. There are reports of Marco Silva, of course, being touted for the Juventus. I think he's going to probably stay. I would like to think that. I think that Silva's going to stay. What he said after the game against City. Of course, a team in the Champions League can turn your head like that, and I'm sure that if anything progresses on that, De Blasio and people like that are going to report on it. But I think it's very, very evident that he's very keen to plan pre-season, the season ahead with Fulham. And I think it's maybe just got to the point where, I think he'll want a better contract at Fulham for sure. He'll obviously not turn his head away from opportunities elsewhere in Europe. Obviously, he want to manage in Saudi Arabia because he wants to be within Europe. But I think it's got to the stage where he's probably told the board his desired targets for the summer, and I think that he wants to see at least his contract through, and if it's just 1 year, he stays at Fulham, then that is what he basically said. If he signs a new contract in the summer or next season, then fantastic. But yeah, it's all a little bit up in the air. There was a report this morning about Anthony Robinson, but it has no substance behind it whatsoever. No substance behind it. Robinson's literally just got back from surgery where he's actually now back at, I believe it's Oxford Park he's back at. It looked like he was at a gym yesterday, back in sort of rehabilitation mode. The fact of the matter is that Kirkes is going to Liverpool. We also have another left back's going somewhere. Anyway, the point being is that Robinson, who was probably very, very in demand at this stage last year, I think that the injury and the operation is obviously it's not good. You wouldn't wish it upon anyone, but it helps Fulham in terms of it would put clubs off for sure, because he's then got to rehabilitate. He's not going to be completely fully fit by the time pre-season starts, which obviously is not great for us, but you know what he's like as a player. He's very, very good as an athlete, gets up and down. Ait Nouri to City. Thank you, Ruben. Hope you're well, mate. That's it. So Ait Nouri, another left back that's been very, very impressive over the last few years for Wolverhampton Wanderers. And then, if that's City buying Ait Nouri and that's Liverpool buying Kirkes, they were the two clubs that I was most worried about coming in for Anthony Robinson, who's still got 2, 3. I think he's got 3 more years on his contract. I believe maybe 2 or 3, because he signed a 5-year deal, didn't he? 2 seasons, so it's 3 years he's got left in his contract. And yeah, I mean, so far it's been very, very slow. So far it's been I would almost say frustrating. The fact of the matter is the window is open, albeit for another 6 days. There's not going to be some mad deadline day on the 10th of June where people are scrambling to get deals done because they know that the window is going to reopen after the Club World Cup or during the Club World Cup. Actually, yeah. So it reopens on the 16th of June. Oh, that's ridiculous. So there's just a 6-day period where window's not open. Of course, within that time, you can still, try and negotiate deals or whatever. And then, of course, you can register players and sign players starting from the 16th. I don't know why they just don't keep it open the whole time, but it's the Club World Cup. I don't really understand why. But anyway, so yeah, in terms of Lamar Gordon as well, a player that I've watched a lot for the under-21s, really, really good player. I would like to see him stay. I think that he got to the point where I think that he can go out on loan as well and definitely prove what he can do, or show people what he can do. Sorry, in the EFL, you talk about players going out on loan, and you immediately think of going into the Championship or League One, League Two. We've seen time and time again that players like Pajaziti, they've gone abroad on loan and actually done very well. Iban Boat went to Belgium, and now he's at Portsmouth. He also went to Scotland. Chris Donnell's obviously a player that's leaving. I did a reaction on that for Patreon last week because he put it on his Instagram, so we sort of knew he was leaving. Disappointed, obviously, but the way that the midfield was progressing at the end of the season, it was like Dibley Diaz, Seth Ridgen, Josh King, and like that was very exciting midfield. My thoughts on Josh King. I think that he should be in the first team for every single game next season. Absolutely, 100%. One thing that's clear, I'm going to definitely restart the router because this connection just doesn't look very stable at all. Rafa Silva from Besiktas has been linked. Not necessarily a very strong link for sure. Nothing really concrete. There are a lot of articles and a lot of links that get posted, and then of course they get tiered with bronze or silver or gold. If I see bronze, I just don't pay attention to it at all because I just don't think it's worth. It's not. I just don't think it's worth even. There's nothing in it really. Chelsea set to be hit with a UEFA fine for exceeding the losses limit last season. Oh dear, that's not good news for them. Let's see. Toby's putting a few comments here. I assume it's dependent on how the upcoming season goes. If we get Europe, I'd be confident Marcus does, but if we don't, then it's unlikely he'd stick around. Yeah, I mean the aim for next season is to do one better and get Europe. Is to get Europe next season. I think it's going to be even more difficult this season to get Europe, as in for 25-26 season, because everyone's going to improve. And I was just writing a piece. I was just in the middle of writing a piece for Patreon. I'm getting back into writing now. Subscribe to Patreon. It's going to be such a fun summer, and I'd love to get more people on board. $5 a month, and you're going to get lots of preseason content. There are whispers about preseason. I'm not necessarily too sure. It hasn't been confirmed yet. That's another thing that we're waiting for to be confirmed, so people can start booking their trips to wherever we're going. But yeah, I think it's going to be more difficult to get Europe next season. Of course, we could be a surprise team. We could be a team that is up there. I think we are a team that are on the up. I don't think we're on a regression. I think we're definitely on the up. But we just need to get moving with summer signings. And obviously, it's understandable. The season finished, 10, 11 days ago. People are going to take a break. Obviously, people are going to have some time off to relax. But this is a very, very key stage every season, every year of a football club, because it's the transition where you go from one season into the next, and you've got to recruit new players, and you've got to, the piece I'm writing for Patreon is all about this quote from Silva, which he says almost every week in a press conference, saying we cannot stand still. And what Fulham are doing right now, technically at this moment, we haven't done anything yet, so technically we are still stood still. I'm sure, and I'm absolutely certain that there are things going on behind the scenes. Fulham trying to get deals done, Fulham trying to put plans in place, the club trying to put plans in place for next season for players. But right now, it's obviously quite slow. The only reason I say that now is because we are seeing other Premier League teams make their moves very, very early. Like I said, Brentford, Man United. There are teams who have already, basically Man City and Liverpool, and obviously there are teams who are. I just think that there are a lot of teams who are very organised and they get things done very, very quickly. And obviously it's good to at least have retain and released out now. But what we understood from the retained release is that we still don't know the future of TC. We still don't know the future of Kenny Tete. I would like to think that we would know the outcome of that in the next week, because if we do lose Tete, that's a right back we have to get in, and there's players like Soufal and Kyle Walker-Peters who are free agents. I would not like to sign Soufal. I would like to sign Kyle Walker-Peters, but I think that he's gonna move to a team who are definitely going to be in European football next season. Brentford already signed Coyote on a they've triggered his permanent move clause where they signed Coyote. They've signed Kelleher. Everton have signed Alcaraz on a permanent deal. So yeah, a lot of clubs are doing stuff, and the Fulham have just done their retained and released. Hopefully, that's going to just get the wheels in motion to start signing some players for themselves. Like there's been a few links, and of course, there's always anxiety and there's worry and there's frustration over the summer period because it's just the nature of the beast. And I think Fulham actually did a fairly decent job last season of getting deals done over the line in a timely fashion. I remember going into the United game thinking, okay, we don't necessarily have a replacement for Paulinho yet, and then Sander Berge came through the door, and I thought we coped fairly okay on that night, and obviously came away with just a defeat, but a 1-0 defeat, but we did very well. And talking of which, the fixtures are going to be out in just less than, I think it's actually 2 weeks today. The fixtures are going to be out 2 weeks today. We'll know who we're going to be playing and when we're going to be playing them. Obviously, Leeds and Burnley and Sunderland back in the Premier League, which is cool. I mean, it's fairly cool. I don't care too much for Leeds and Burnley, obviously under Scott Parker, but it's nice to have Sunderland back for sure. And yeah, there's not an awful lot more to say about this. We can go through the other players who have been released. Terry Ablade, I didn't even realise he was still at the club. Luca Ashby-Hammond, which obviously is a bit of a shame, but looks like Alex Borto has definitely surpassed him. Like I said, Chris Donnell was a big shame that he's leaving. Also, the same about Amani Languedoc, because I thought he was a player who, especially at the end of the season, was doing very well for the under-21s. Conor McAvoy, Delano McCoy-Splat. McCoy-Splat was really unlucky getting an injury. Shrewsbury early on in the season in August kept him out for a lot of the campaign. Callum McFarlane, Damon Park, Stephen Parks. Quite surprised by Damon Park. Luca Picotto and Oscar Varney. I think there were two players from the under-18s, which I didn't cover much at all last season. I wanted to cover under-18s, and I want to cover under-18s going forward, but the problem is they play Saturday mornings, and that usually clashes with the first team, whereas under-21s play Friday night, Monday nights, Tuesday nights, Wednesday nights, so it's a little bit easier to get down to Motspur Park or wherever for the game. And then let's just do one last question before I plug Patreon and then go. Harley Collins, any movement update on TC? Well, as the statement said by the club, that we're still it's basically we've still offered him a new contract. The contracts have been offered. It's just whether they accept it, and hopefully they come through the door. Hopefully they sign on and can be with us for next season. I don't want TC to have left in circumstances where he left, where we didn't really know he was going to go. If we knew he was leaving before City and we gave him a whole parade post game, I think that would have been fine. But it's the whole will he, won't he sort of nature that's frustrating. But hopefully he signs a new contract, stays another year. Same with Kenny Tete. He is important to the way we play and to our defence. And he's a quality right back. And he gave an interview after the game against City saying we can have many more years together. He gave an interview in the programme where he was like, we're not sure yet, but we're still talking. It's been a couple of weeks since then, and still no movement. But these things take time, and this is. I was saying to Patreon yesterday before I go, I'll just get quickly. But this period now, from when City game ended, to now up until maybe Friday, Saturday, Sunday, this is the most frustrating 2 weeks, personally, of the year, because it's very slow. Nothing's happened. You don't get any sort of news coming through because the season's just finished. And it's very much a waiting game. We have to wait on news to come through. And at the moment, there isn't much to go off at all. But at least now we have retained and released. We know who's leaving. who offered contracts, and hopefully those players will sign the contracts. Now, just finally, Patreon is the best place to get me for reaction and loads of fun content, especially during pre-season. I am hoping and pretty certain that I will be at, I want to say, at least, I might miss one game of pre-season abroad because of a wedding. I'd like to think I'll be at every single other one. If it doesn't clash with the wedding, then I'll be at every single game for pre-season. There are rumours of where it could be. There are rumours of who we could play. It hasn't been confirmed by the club yet. I am waiting with bated breath to book flights and accommodation to where I think it might be. But let's just see. And I think there's other people as well who are obviously waiting because people love to do pre-season. I did it last season, and I want to say it was the best. It was one of the best things I've ever done. It was so much fun. Got some really cool access. Got to speak with Emil Smith-Rowe and Benno and Awobi, which was great. And obviously, I'm a little bit more confident, so I'm hoping I can get a little bit more access this season, which of course you'll see on Patreon as well. £5 per month to sign up. You get a lot of Fulham content stuff you wouldn't normally see in the Fulham space. Very much reaction, behind the scenes stuff that you just usually see, and it's I think it's going to be another very, very fun season on Patreon. The subscriber base there is very good, but I'm always looking to get more people in. There's so many more Fulham fans out there who are unaware of it, or are maybe aware of it but haven't taken the plunge. I'm thinking of maybe offering a week sort of free sort of insight into Patreon, and then if you wait, then you subscribe. But I do think that off the bat, £5 a month, which is less than a pint in a pub, and that's just per month, you're getting a really good deal. It's like $6, £5. That's how it fluctuates. And I think that you're going to get very bored of me banging the drum also, of me trying to get people through the door. And also, of course, the YouTube channel, which is going to have its revival as well. I used YouTube last season, the first half of the season. Then I basically focused on Patreon, getting all of that right. And I knew that I was going to revisit YouTube in the summer when I knew that my structure on Patreon was correct. And that's what I'm going to do. So if you are watching this on YouTube, thank you very much. People like Toby. If you're watching this on Twitter, thank you very much. People, my internet has been awful. I'm very, very aware of that. I'm going to restart the router before I go on the live stream next time. Oh, we've got a new subscriber in. Thank you very much to Paigey. Thank you, Paigey, for subscribing to Patreon. Like I say, I really want to get loads of people through the door. I think there's a lot of people missing out on what's some really fun content. Obviously, you've got to, times are hard when you have to plug your own content, and you're trying to make a living. So the support from the subscribers and from the Fulham fans, who of course I'm always trying to cater for, is very much appreciated. Sorry, I should read the comment. This is the time of year Fulham fans are reminded that our director of football is also running a wrestling company. Yeah, and I think obviously, when you see Tony Khan tweeting about AEW, it obviously rubs people up the wrong way, of course. But I think that I think that there's obviously obvious frustration. I don't think Tony Khan, as much as he is involved with recruitment, there are other people, of course, who are involved in recruitment as well. And I don't think it should solely be blamed on TK. And when he's tweeting about wrestling, there's obviously going to be backlash because that's just what it is. But I think that Tony's been quite open with Fulham fans over the last year. That being said, I still think things need to start getting done. There's so much to look forward to this summer. Thanks, Toby. He said, really enjoying the content and very much worth the subscription. Thank you very much, Toby. I see you always one of the first to like content when it goes up. Yeah, really do get involved with Patreon this summer. I obviously can't promise things, but I'd like to think that I can get some really fun stuff this summer, and I'm very much looking forward to what the future holds. Thank you so much for watching. This has been obviously a half-hour reaction to the news that Vinicius and Willian are leaving the club. Offers of contracts to Lamar Gordon, Osmond, TC, Luke de Fools, and Kenny Tete. 5 players, all of which I want to stay at the club. Come on, Fulham. We'll react again to another live stream whenever some big news hits. Hopefully, it's more towards the evening time so that more people can engage. I understand people are obviously working and stuff, but I'm very lucky to call this my job. So I'm very excited to bring you guys more live streams over the summer and improve that internet connection. Bloody hell. Thanks so much for watching. And come on, Fulham.